Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll tell you some of the ways NCBA is working on behalf of the Beef Checkoff to increase demand. Plus, we'll explain how the Federation of State Beef Councils puts checkoff dollars to work.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Auctioner. One key way the beef industry stimulates demand is through the work of the Beef Checkoff. The $1 per head checkoff is divided among many great contractors who implement programs in areas like research, promotion, consumer, and industry information. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association serves as one of those contractors and works every day to grow consumer demand through checkoff-funded programs. And here to talk more about these efforts is Jennifer Nielsen. She's Senior Vice President of Global Marketing and Research for NCBA. Jennifer, thanks for coming to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Now, you've been in this position for about a year now, as I understand, and maybe you can tell our viewers a little bit about your roles and responsibility, and as importantly, what's one or two things you're most proud of this last year?
It's an honor. I get to manage the people and the programs for NCBA as a contractor of the Beef Checkoff. And what that entails is predominantly promotions, national promotions, as well as research and post-harvest, as well as consumer research. It's an exciting job, and it's an honor to manage the team and all the work that is done, and to do it for producers. What am I most proud of in my first year? I think it's the partnerships. It's the connection that we're doing even more of with other contractors, like the Northeast Beef Promotion Initiative or USMEF. And very much the work that we're doing with the state beef councils. The 50 cents that's given at the state, invested at the state, as well as the 50 cents that is for national programs, to the degree that we can put these two things together and get more impact, is really what we're trying to do. And so that togetherness, that partnership, and doing more and more of that year over year is helping us be more efficient as a contractor.
Finding ways to leverage and capitalize on those collaborative opportunities.
That's right, for greater impact.
Excellent. Let's talk about consumers for a minute. There's a lot of shifts and changes going on with consumers, both because of inflation and experiences in COVID and different shopping habits. How is NCBA responding to those consumer shifts and changes?
Yeah, I agree. Exponential change with consumers. We're seeing, number one, that consumers continue to pay the prices that are today's prices for beef, and that's good. But what they're looking for in doing that is more confidence when it comes to selection, as well as confidence in preparation, because there's a lot at stake.
Right.
And so the programs that we do from a marketing standpoint and communication standpoint, we connect to beefitswhatsfordinner.com, where there's recipes and cut charts and that kind of thing to really increase their confidence. The second consumer behavior that I see that you'll hear more about later on is online shopping.
Oh, yeah.
There's a significant amount of consumers now, because of COVID, that have adopted new habits with online grocery buying, and we're seeing that with beef. And we have our marketing right there online as they're making those selections. And being an early adopter of those types of tools and really getting into the choice of the consumer when they're choosing what they're going to make for dinner or lunch for their meal plan that week, it's really starting to work, and we're seeing a lot of great benefit from that type of marketing.
We don't have to rely on that person behind the meat counter anymore if we can connect with them directly via online, right?
That's right.
That's fantastic.
That's right.
One last question for you. What's your message to cattle producers who are watching the show about NCBA's work?
First, it's that we take our work very seriously, and our effort to spend efficiently to get the most demand out of every single dollar is really what we're charged with and are honored to do. And the second message is thank you. Without the producer's investment, we wouldn't be here. And so that's who we work for, and that's who we hope to make proud with the work that we do in all that you'll see on the show today, featuring NCBA as a contractor of the Beef Checkoff.
It's an important investment, and we appreciate the stewardship you all demonstrate in that investment. Thanks so much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Appreciate the opportunity.
Indeed. Now, don't forget, you can check out the Beef It's What's for Dinner website for a great interactive experience. You'll find things like recipes, information on beef cuts, and nutritional information at this one-stop shop for all things beef. Now, another important piece of the puzzle is the Federation of State Beef Councils. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Russell Nemitz has a closer look at the structure and role of the Federation and why it's so important to the beef industry.
Every single day, the NCBA Federation Division works to build demand for beef. And joining us now is Federation Chair Brad Hastings out of Texas and Federation Vice Chair Clark Price from North Dakota. And Brad, let's start with you. Brad, talk about your role as Federation leadership.
Well, the Federation was created in 1963, so it's going to be 60 years old next year. And the Federation is really made up of 44 state beef councils and almost 700 producer board members. So the Federation is really the combination of all those state beef councils coming together to do work to promote beef. NCBA, as a large contractor to the Beef Checkoff, is actually the Federation is housed within NCBA. So our mission is to promote beef and try to use the 50 cents from the state dollar to expand beef demand.
And of course, speaking with a unified voice across all fronts is absolutely critical for the U.S. beef cattle industry. Clark, what has the NCBA Federation Division accomplished in the past year?
You know, Russell, last year we sponsored the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300 Xfinity race in Daytona again for the second year running. There was huge results from that. We saw 6.2 billion impressions on whatever impressions are worth to people, but I mean, that means somebody saw it that many times. Whether I saw it 5 times or 10 times, but it did resonate to the consumer like that. Also, we've added Tony Romo as a spokesperson for the Beef It's What's for Dinner brand, to promote that brand and lift it up a little bit. We haven't had a spokesperson for years for Beef It's What's for Dinner, so it's going to be exciting to work with Tony. And then our research that we do is ongoing forever. It has been forever. It's the foundation of our checkoff. So we're doing some research right now where it's beef in the early years, where young children as low as the age of 6 months are actually getting introduced to beef. We're finding that it's creating a lot more brain development, a lot of good things coming from that. So, and it's also fun to feed a baby beef because the smiles go on their face pretty fast.
Absolutely. Well, without question, there is a ton of positive momentum going on right now with the checkoff and everything that it's doing on behalf of cattle producers across the nation. Brad, explain the relationship, though, between NCBA and those state beef councils across America.
I think that relationship is as important as anything. It's all about unifying the state voice and having kind of one plan to expand that reach and that consumer, that checkoff dollar to the consumers. As a matter of fact, the states and NCBA have actually put together a 3-year strategy and plan where they will have a 3-year focus on what they want to get accomplished and how they're going to get accomplished as a unified voice. Again, you mentioned unity, and that's probably the most important thing that we're trying to do, because the checkoff dollar is not worth what it was back in 1985, so we got to make sure we're getting the best use out of that dollar to keep building beef demand.
So following up on that, Brad, with Clark, why do you think after 30 years it's still so important to promote beef?
Well, it goes back to what I was said about, getting the boys for beef, it's what for dinner, again with Tony Romo, where we need to stay in constant contact with those consumers. Otherwise, we start slipping in amount of beef that people are eating. We're kind of needing to get back into the younger generation people. Like I said, we're going all the way to the babies, but we need them millennials and everybody else to really understand the health benefits, the flavor profile, which we all know is there, but the health benefits are one thing we really got to concentrate on and make sure that they trust what we're doing and they trust in the product we're producing.
And Brad, lastly, the work never stops as far as promoting beef and the work that's being done on behalf of Checkoff investors and consumers at the NCBA Federation Division. What does the rest of this year have in store when it comes to promoting beef?
I think more of the same. We're still going to be using Tony Romo for the balance this year. One of the key things that I've heard that really surprised me is we need to have some big brand building initiatives, right? For people my age, when you say beef, everybody knows beef, it's what's for dinner. We have to make sure that the younger consumer has that same message, and that's one thing that we're trying to get accomplished with Tony Romo from that perspective. Another really interesting fact that I heard about is it's about e-commerce. There's some statistics out there that almost 70% of consumers are buying groceries online. So we are working with some of the large retailers, Walmart, Kroger's, Sam's Club, an e-commerce effort. And what's really great about that is we get a lot of metrics back about of consumers' purchasing habits and what's driving them to the meat case.
Well, we appreciate you joining us here on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, and thanks to both of you for all of the hard work you two are doing as chair and vice chair of NCBA's Federation Division, and of course promoting that high quality protein that we all love, beef.
Still ahead on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll tell you how NCBA and the Beef Checkoff are working to make sure beef is the protein of choice all summer long. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Grass is the center of our universe. We've got to have a grass program that we can count on and plan on. That's what we need to sustain us, to keep us growing, to keep us prospering.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, CEO of MyPillow. Retailers, shopping channels, and now even banks have tried to cancel myself and MyPillow. During these times, your support has meant everything to us. So my employees and I want to personally thank each and every one of you by passing the savings directly on to you. We're selling the best products ever for the best prices ever. For example, we have my towels with proprietary technology, which makes them soft and absorbent. Towels that work, what a concept. They're made with USA cotton and come in a variety of awesome colors. My 6-piece towel set is regularly $109.99, now just $39.99 with your promo code. So go to mypillow.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive this exclusive offer. If you do it right now, I'm going to include a free gift with your purchase. Thank you and God bless.
Nothing says summer quite like the sound and smell of beef sizzling on the grill. So how does the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, as a contractor to the Beef Checkoff, work to make sure everyone is choosing beef for their backyard barbecues? Joining me now is Sarah Reese, the Senior Executive Director of Brand Marketing for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Now, Sarah, we started this year with a really big announcement that Tony Romo was coming on board as the official spokesperson for the Beef It's What's for Dinner campaign. Why is that partnership so important to the industry, especially during the summer months?
Tony Romo helped us kick off our summer grilling campaign with National Beef Burger Day in May. And he is included in all of our advertising that'll run throughout the summer months, from TV to social media.
Okay.
And we are making sure that he is sharing his favorite beef recipes as well as his passion for beef throughout all the content he's creating. And And we have a bigger presence this year on television, where we have ads running across Food Network, HGTV, and Magnolia Network. And we have really seen the combination of using Tony Romo in Beef It's What's for Dinner advertising, generating a lot of excitement this summer. Working with a well-known celebrity like Tony Romo and working with beef's inherent taste and flavor that people love has really struck a chord.
That's outstanding. So besides those commercials, what are some of the other things you're doing during the summer months to make sure that beef is the protein they choose to put on their grill?
We have a robust media plan that's in market right now, from paid advertising to social media. We're also doing a lot of work with influencers to create summer grilling content, as well as retail promotions, and work with the media. We are sharing summer grilling recipes across a variety of channels. And we're making sure that all of our advertising is driving consumers to beefitswhatsfordinner.com for summer grilling recipes.
But it's not just about consumers, right? I mean, you guys are also doing some work with chefs. Why is it important to broaden your focus and to target that audience as well?
We know from our Checkoff funded research that chefs are a credible source of information for food and food safety, production, as well as nutrition information. So we work with chefs to provide them with education about beef, to create those true beef advocates, as well as creating content with them that they can share out on their channels, as well as Beef It's What's for Dinner's channels. We have learned that chef-driven content generates a lot of views as well as engagement with consumers. So we know it's important to continue to work with this audience because they ultimately impact consumers' perceptions and awareness as well as beef purchases.
Yeah, you mentioned production practices, and I know you've also done work in terms of trying to educate some of the social media influencers about what we do from a production standpoint. Why is that so important in this environment?
Social media influencers are a key group that we work with. They've been creating summer grilling content that's been running throughout the last several months. And it's included a range of recipes from beef burgers to short ribs and grilled flank steak. We also provide them with some education about the beef industry, from ranch immersion experiences to restaurant pop-ups, as well as culinary demonstrations. This allows us to give them information that they can talk about with their large audiences in an authentic voice that's their own. And we're making sure that they have accurate information to share.
That's really helpful and critical in the environment we're in right now. One last question. What is it, Sarah, about the Beef It's What's for Dinner campaign that seems to resonate so well with consumers, and what do you see as the future of that campaign?
Again, we know through our Checkoff funded research that consumers love beef. And the primary reason that they choose beef is for its taste. But we also know that they want inspiration and education on how to utilize beef, learn about their cuts, as well as those production practices and nutrition. And that's all stuff that the Beef It's What's for Dinner brand provides. We know that the brand's nostalgic to a lot of consumers, but we can't rest on our laurels. We have to continue to get brand awareness out there. And we do that through our partnerships with people like Tony Romo, making those advertising buys so that we're seen on network television, as well as creating partnerships like the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300 at Daytona Speedway.
Love a lot of the very innovative work you all are doing on behalf of the beef industry to drive demand for our product. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Still ahead, we'll talk about a program designed to show parents the value of feeding beef to their children at an early age. That story when we return. Stay with us.
It is inevitable. Like the rising and setting of the sun, your gravel driveway will need maintenance. Drudgery? Never. Be the right person with the right tools doing the job the right way by watching How to Maintain a Gravel Drive Using a Box Blade with Hydraulic Scarifiers. Brought to you by tipsnotebook.com. When better how-to videos are made, we will make them.
The Asian longhorn tick is an invasive exotic pest in the United States threatening the cattle industry. These ticks are extremely small and can multiply fast, plus they carry diseases like Theileria that can pose a threat to your herd. That's why NCBA is hosting a 2-day virtual symposium with the U.S. Department of Agriculture on August 23rd and 24th, featuring veterinarians, state animal health officials, and industry experts. This event will help you identify these ticks and learn more about keeping your herd safe. Register today at ncba.org.
Welcome back. The Federation of State Beef Councils has a long history of building beef demand through an effective state and national checkoff partnership. We asked members of the state beef councils to explain why this partnership is so important to what they do to promote beef on a state level.
Colorado Beef Council, we do a wonderful job just on our own with a little bit of advertising and certain marketing efforts. However, our bang for the buck really comes as we partner with NCBA as a contractor to reach some of the other, global people that we couldn't by any means reach as a state. So it's amazing to me, the professionals and the team and how they work together, but how they know where to go with this information, who to bring that information to.
We believe deeply in the state-national partnership. There is no question about that. One example that I'll give you, we don't have PhD research scientists on our staff. We rely on national cattlemen to offer that assistance. We ask them to look at research proposals on our behalf, and then we look to execute programs that are happening at a national level in our state. We believe it's efficient, we believe it's effective, and we think that by working together, we're better together.
I think the Beef Checkoff program is essential to cattle producers because it really allows them to remain independent. It allows them to have a voice in how their beef is marketed across the nation and internationally. It allows them to have a direction in committees. They can decide what programs the checkoff funds. They can decide the amount of that. The Beef Checkoff does allow for the producer to have a grassroots voice in how their product is marketed. If we didn't have the research, the promotions that the checkoff provides, then it would be left up to industry, and that may or may not benefit the producer, because I can think of an example of the flat iron steak. If the producers didn't have the checkoff research that proved that that was the second most tender cut in the muscle, and if they just took it out of the carcass a little bit differently, that was the checkoff program that helped push that into an entirely independent state category, a brand new state category. So that is just one example of how influential the Beef Checkoff program has been over the years.
When I think about both state beef councils as well as national leadership, our organizations are run by producers. And I love that you end up with really bright, passionate producers that gain information over time. They learn more and more about the committees that they serve on. They understand how their dollars are spent. Producers make the decision on how every checkoff dollar is spent. Every committee is based on producer input and producer decision making. And when our producers are involved, we get better results. That's just the bottom line. They keep their eye on what's important. It's their industry. And as a staff person, I recognize my job is to execute the vision and the strategy set forth by the folks who truly are in charge of the checkoff dollar. I work for them.
Yeah, the Beef Checkoff is completely relevant. It is completely important. It is absolutely amazing. I can't imagine where we'd be today without it. It is incredible when you really dig into it and find out the different aspects and the different areas that the monies go. It is absolutely amazing and hugely impactful. So no, could I imagine it with today's world without the Beef Checkoff? No, I could not.
NCBA, as a contractor of the Beef Checkoff, is helping people understand the valuable role beef plays in a healthy and nutritious diet. Here to talk more about these efforts is Dr. Shailene McNeil, Executive Director for Nutrition, Science, Health, and Wellness at NCBA. Dr. McNeil, thanks for coming. And let's begin talking about that Beef in the Early Years campaign you all have been working with. Why is that so important to the industry?
Oh, well, you know, Kevin, if you think about it, there is a baby born every 8 seconds in the United States. That's 10,000 babies a day, and I like to say that's 20,000 worried parents.
Yes.
It's kind of crazy to think about the fact that babies start eating solid foods right around 6 months of age. So they're starting to form those lifelong habits early in their age, and there's more medical attention to the fact that babies are not necessarily getting the best nutrition that they need.
Wow.
And one of those nutrients that we're really concerned about is iron, because iron can have lifelong consequences if you don't get enough. And we all know that beef is one of the best sources of iron that you can get. There's other nutrients, choline and zinc, just a whole bunch of nutrients in beef that are really important for children's diets. So this campaign is all about raising awareness of that important information, but also educating physicians and parents on how to do this, how to safely introduce beef starting at around 6 months of age. So we're really excited about it, really important effort.
And that was my question. How are you getting this message to parents? Because clearly parents of newborns want to do absolutely the right thing for their child. How are you connecting with them?
Oh, they do. And they want to get the experts to kind of help them make those decisions. And they've got a lot of questions. And hearing that beef can be a food that you should be introducing at 6 months can kind of sound like surprising information. So one of the things that we're doing is working with physicians and pediatricians and nutrition experts to make sure that the health community will also endorse or teach or reinforce this idea with parents. So that whole community on social media, making sure that those health experts, those registered dietitians who are educating so many consumers on social media are reinforcing how to safely do this, how to healthfully do this. But then also with our marketing efforts, we're able to go directly to parents and consumers. You know, we can get pretty sophisticated with targeting and how we reach parents. So now we can go right to those parents who are shopping online for early, infant diapers, for example. Target them and get them educated about this topic. We've got great content on Beef It's What's for Dinner. So we're really using a surround sound approach. In fact, we're really proud of the fact that over the last year, we reached 32 million parents with this information and over 1 million health professionals.
That's very impressive numbers. What about other age groups? I mean, is this a message that can be extended and levered in other age groups or not so much?
It is, and it should be, because it is important right around getting kids started off on the right track at around 6 months of age. But when I look as a registered dietitian across the lifespan, and you look at children, not just young school-age children, but teenagers, that's the age group that I have in my household. And then getting them ready for college, these children through adolescence are missing out important nutrients. And one of the things that's concerning is as adolescent children have cut back on their beef intake, we've seen their nutrients worries go up. Iron deficiency is on the rise. So there's definitely an opportunity and a need for us to educate all kinds of parents and health professionals who are raising children on the importance of these nutrients. And we're going to be doing that right around the back to school time frame. We've got a lot of efforts going on with that. And we're going to be educating physicians as well with the same content so that we get more awareness around this. And that's going to be important as we think about future health of our children.
Absolutely. The health of our children, and to your point, tastes and preferences that are established at the young age that continue. Speaking of tastes and preferences and just overall guidelines, every 5 years, the government revises and reviews nutritional guidelines. And that's coming up, is it not?
It is coming up. It seems like it's always happening, but the new guidelines will be released in 2025. It takes quite a bit of time to review all of the new research, including research that the Checkoff has funded and other research has become available to make those guidelines. I think we follow this very closely as an industry and something that we're really interested in as a Checkoff because we have so much great science on the role that beef plays in health. And we know that when these guidelines are written, they inform future nutrition attitudes. School lunch program, they're part of our federal nutrition policy. So if it's not in the dietary guidelines, it won't be on school lunch, it won't be what our military is served, and it trickles down to the way that we think about health and wellness. And one of the great news pieces of information is that we finally have seen beef catch up to chicken in terms of how consumers view it as nutritious. And part of that is the efforts that we've played with research and dietary guidelines and these American Academy of Pediatric recommendations where we're reinforcing the benefits that beef plays. So we've got to pay attention to these nutrition guidelines, and they're an important part of the work that we do as a Checkoff.
thank you for being our representative with that group and for moving that ball forward. We
Yes.
appreciate it. Fascinating information. We always appreciate you coming on the show.
Love being here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Now, if you've got questions about beef's role as a healthy food choice, a good resource to check out is the Beef It's What's for Dinner website. There you'll find all sorts of information, along with healthy and nutritious beef recipes. Still to come, 2 Sam's Club executives share their experiences and knowledge from working in the retail side of the beef industry. That story when we return. Stay with us.
Nasalgen 3 is a new 3-way intranasal BRD vaccine that offers young calves unrivaled protection against devastating respiratory diseases, including IBR, BRSV, and PI3. And it has a unique blue shadow, so there's no second guessing which animals have been vaccinated. To up your protection, choose new Nasalgen 3 PMH, the first and only 5-way intranasal vaccine on the market. Talk to your veterinarian and visit nasalgen.com to learn more.
Did you know you can get reimbursed for attending cattle industry educational events? The Rancher Resilience Grant helps cattle producers attend valuable programs such as Cattlemen's College and Stockmanship and Stewardship training sessions. Local, state, and national events qualify for the grant, and successful applicants can receive money back to help cover registration fees and hotel expenses. To apply for the Rancher Resilience Grant, go to ncba.org and click on the Producer tab.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association, with the help of checkoff dollars, works in a variety of areas to build demand for beef. This includes partnerships and promotional efforts with restaurants and retailers nationwide, including Sam's Club. At the recent Cattle Industry Summer Business Meeting, Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter talked with 2 Sam's Club leaders who shared their insights about the current retail trends.
Sam's Club, owned by Walmart, is one of the top sellers of groceries, including beef, in America. At the Cattle Industry Summer Business Meeting, NCBA CEO Colin Woodall led a discussion with 2 key leaders from Sam's Club to get their insights about the changes, challenges, and opportunities in selling beef today to Sam's Club members.
We need to make sure that they have amazing quality products when they come into the clubs. So we're really working hard to make sure that they find value, that they're able to feed their families, and that they're able to keep protein, especially beef, at the center of their plate.
We're starting to see what other uses can I get out of this product. If you take a steak, and we sell big packs at Sam's, right? So we're going to sell you more steaks, but what else can you do with it? And one of the things that we like to see is, let's say you cook steak for your family on a Friday, but then on Saturday or Sunday, you take what you've already prepared, and maybe it's steak and eggs for breakfast, or it's fajitas for dinner. I mean, there's multiple. So how do you get more use out of the product that we sell you?
Sam's Club is innovating to provide a better shopping experience with scan and go technology that allows their members to skip the checkout line and expanded opportunities to shop online.
Our members have shifted from being strictly in club. COVID really forced them to figure out what else can they do, and so they've went online. They're even starting to experience and dabble in direct to home, and so we're really trying to make sure that we meet them at their need state. So whether it is in the club and they have a chance to interact with our associates and our butchers, or if it is online or at curbside, we want to make sure that we are providing them with consistency and quality in product.
In addition, Sam's Club often works in partnership with NCBA and the Beef Checkoff to help promote beef during grilling season and around times of celebration, such as Father's Day.
Sam's Club and NCBA have really grown their partnership over the last few years, and I think one of the best things is leveraging the checkoff dollars and allowing for Sam's Club to be a vessel in educating our members on beef, what's for dinner. And so that really was at the top of our online shopping experience through the campaign over the middle of the summer, which really is where we have to win, to be top of mind for those cookouts and grill outs, so that we're having steak and hopefully prime rib burgers and really enjoying that family gathering. But we've really started to think about how do we continue to educate our members and looking for ways in which we continue to grow our partnership.
Great partnership. I mean, I've really enjoyed speaking here today. It's been great, but the relationship between us is really how do we increase consumption in the beef industry, and it's been a great partnership.
From the Cattle Industry Summer Business Meeting in Reno, Nevada, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Sustainability continues to be an important topic for the beef industry, and it's critical to engage in conversations about sustainability directly with consumers. Joining us now is Hillary Makins. She's Executive Director of Issues Management and Public Relations for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Hillary, thanks so much for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Why is it so important that we spend some time as an industry educating consumers about the topic of sustainability?
You know, consumers don't necessarily know what sustainability is, and even if they think they know, they don't all define it the same way. So it's really important for us to be part of that conversation so we can help shape the narrative and help really educate them on the great stories that the beef industry has to tell when it comes to sustainability. We want to be part of that.
You bet. So I'm curious, what are some of NCBA's latest checkoff-funded efforts to address some of the misconceptions that so many consumers have about beef industry sustainability?
So NCBA has checkoff-funded sustainability efforts going on year-round. It really starts with our research. So from the technical and scientific research where we are gathering all of that data, analyzing that data, and setting the foundation for what we talk about. We can also do market research with consumers to make sure that the messaging we're sharing in our consumer marketing campaigns are resonating with consumers. Those consumer marketing campaigns, we're doing digital advertising, audio advertising, as well as some broadcast television advertising. Again, sharing stories that we know resonate with consumers. And then we also have public relations and social media efforts going on as well.
You know, you talk about advertising, and I know that's important, but I also know some producers who are really taking their message directly to consumers themselves as producers. Why is that so effective when producers pick up the baton and share that?
Well, that market research that I just talked about tells us that consumers consider farmers and ranchers to be a credible source of information about raising cattle and, of course, sustainability. And that's fantastic news because that is what we need. We need farmers and ranchers to tell their own story because consumers do want to hear it from them, but it also gives a face and a name to that information and helps consumers be a little more trusting of what's going on when they see it someone in their own community, someone just like them, raising beef and doing it sustainably.
Let's talk media outlets a minute. I mean, what are you doing to get the message out to media outlets?
Yeah, so it really starts with our media monitoring that we do in our digital command center, where we have round-the-clock monitors set up to look for media trends, any keywords we're seeing in the media, and then we can respond to that. So we use a surround sound approach with earned media, which is free, and then paid media. And with that earned media, we can hone in on those keywords and know what stories that the media outlets might want to tell. So we can give them a story and hope that they share it the way we want to. But we know we don't have full control over that, so we use paid media on the other side to guarantee we're getting our exact story out exactly the way we want it. And using those two together, we can really make sure people are hearing our story in a variety of ways in a variety of places, so they're remembering it and it's really sinking in.
No doubt about it, the beef industry has been in the crosshairs of discussion about sustainability, and we appreciate all that you do to help people understand the truth about beef industry sustainability. Thanks.
Thank you.
Now, if you have questions about beef industry sustainability or need facts to help answer consumer questions, just go to beefitswhatsfordinner.com and click on the Raising Beef tab. Still ahead, we've got a look at how NCBA and the Beef Checkoff work to ensure consumers get the safest beef possible. That story when we return. Stay with us.
When you spot BRD in your cattle, that's your golden opportunity to target infection and its associated fever with a single dose of ResFlor Gold, the industry standard dual therapy. To learn more, talk to your Merck Animal Health rep or your vet and see label at resflorgold.com. Animals intended for human consumption must not be slaughtered within 38 days of treatment. This product is not approved for use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older, including dry dairy cows.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
Research continues to be a top priority for both Beef Checkoff and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Joining us now is Dr. Mandy Carr-Johnson. She's the Senior Executive Director of Scientific Affairs for NCBA. Dr. Johnson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, I know one of the projects you do continuously year after year is the Consumer Beef Tracker. Tell us a little bit about what that is and some of the insights that you generate from that research.
So the Consumer Beef Tracker is a survey of consumers that we run on a continuous basis. It started back in 2018, and we ask about 500 consumers every month their perceptions on beef from things related to eating experience and price, convenience, versatility, nutrition, and their perceptions on how beef is raised.
And my understanding is throughout COVID, there were a lot of consumer habits and perceptions that changed. And in fact, some of those are still continuing post-COVID. What are you learning about that?
So it's an interesting dynamic for consumers. What we see now post-COVID really is looking at their purchasing decisions have evolved and how they go about that. We know that for consumers to have beef at both retail and food service is critical to beef demand. But what we see that they started embracing things like e-commerce and shopping online for all products, including food and including beef. We see some consumers saying that they're going to go back to eating in a restaurant or shopping for their groceries. Some consumers say that they're also going to keep using e-commerce because it saves them time and sometimes money.
Yeah, that's really exciting and creates lots of opportunities for us in the beef cattle industry. Talking about opportunities, the holidays are not far away. And clearly that's an incredibly important time for beef consumption. I'm curious, with this economy and everything else, what do you see as some of the opportunities and the challenges for making certain that beef is center of the plate throughout these holidays?
We know that as we're coming out of summer, that was a great time for beef and for grilling season, but the holidays can be too. And many consumers tell us they want beef on their plate through the holiday season. We do know some consumers will be facing some economic pressures. So we want to be mindful of if a family's tradition is to have that prime rib roast at the center of their holiday dinner, that we want that available. But if they need to make different decisions, that beef has many cuts that fit many budgets, that can be part of appetizers and other parts of a eating experience and still have one that will be remembered.
That's excellent. One last question. With all the insights you gather, I'm curious, what do we need to keep in mind as beef cattle producers in terms of making certain that consumers prefer beef over all the other alternative protein options?
So what we know is consumers do love beef, and our eating experience is critically important in keeping them in beef. So what we know is when you look at about 40% or a little more tell us that beef is their top protein, and it's followed closely by chicken. But what we know is they want to purchase beef, so we want to make sure that that eating experience is protected with high quality animal care and production so that we can have a great experience every time, no matter what cut they pick.
Very good. Thanks so much. You're always full of so much information when you come to the show. We appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Glad to be here.
Now, if you want to stay up to date on NCBA's efforts in things like beef safety, research, sustainability, and nutrition, just visit the website beefresearch.org. We'll be back to wrap up our show right after this. Stay with us.
Stressors that trigger bovine respiratory disease are all around. So when you spot BRD in your herd, turn to Zuprevo, the fast that lasts. Zuprevo is rapidly absorbed in as little as 45 minutes and lasts up to 28 days. Because in the race against BRD, you need to win. Ready, set, Zuprevo. In case of human injection, seek immediate medical advice. For use in beef and non-lactating dairy cattle only. For prescribing information, talk to your veterinarian or visit Zuprevo.com.
you have an upcoming production sale to advertise? Then contact the Cattlemen to Cattlemen marketing team or your breed association to learn more.
Welcome back. We're wrapping up our show highlighting the Beef Checkoff. And joining me now is Colin Woodall, CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Colin, thanks for coming to the show.
Always good to be with you, Kevin.
So tell our viewers just a little bit about the fact that actually checkoff dollars are not given. They actually have to be earned by all contractors, including NCBA, correct?
You know, that's one of the biggest misconceptions that's out there. A lot of producers think that NCBA just writes themselves a check. And nothing could be further from the truth, because every year we have to go before the Beef Promotion Operating Committee, which is made up of cattle producers, some representing the Federation of State Beef Councils, some representing the Cattlemen's Beef Board, and we have to pitch our ideas. And if our ideas pass muster, then they will decide how much they want to fund us to be able to execute those ideas. And if they don't, then we don't get funding. And it's like that for all contractors. So we have to actually go out there and compete with our best ideas, because if we don't meet the standards of the Beef Promotion Operating Committee, we're not going to get those dollars that we've asked for.
So what do you say to people, Colin, who suggest that the checkoff is actually controlled by NCBA?
You have to step back and look at just how it's structured. It is structured by having the Cattlemen's Beef Board in place to be that governing body. And it's made up of producers, some of which are NCBA members, some are not NCBA members, but they're all appointed to the Cattlemen's Beef Board by the Secretary of Agriculture. And it's their job to make sure that they are seeing every single dollar spent according to the act and the order which governs the checkoff. And they have their own meetings, they have their own leadership, and as a contractor, we are responsible to them for all the work that we do. And that's why we go through the different audits that we go through and make sure that everything that we do is in compliance with that act and order. We've got a good relationship with them, but we work for them. They don't work for us.
We've heard a lot about some of the nationally funded checkoff programs you all are engaged in. As CEO, how do you measure success of the programs?
That's a big part of what we do on every program, is to look at what those measurements are. Let's look at two specific examples. One is in regards to all the work that we do on behalf of the checkoff in the research arena, specifically on sustainability research. Some tremendous work that has been done with these checkoff dollars to really give us facts and figures on our impact on the environment, and to show quite clearly that when it comes to the environment, we don't have the impact that a lot of the activists assume that we do. So great information that we've been able to share, not only with other researchers, but also with the consumer. So one of the ways that we gauge that is to see just how far and wide that information has gone, and to be able to see that attribution back to the Beef Checkoff. So a lot of times it's just how far is it been spread, who's using it, and how often does it get repeated. But then you look at another example, which would be on our promotion work, a lot of the e-commerce work that we do. Then it is quite simply, how much beef are we selling? Because when you look at the Beef Promotion Act and Order, it is about getting the beef sold, making sure the consumer is comfortable with what we're doing. We can make them comfortable by providing the research and all the great attributes of beef, but then be able to measure just how much of it they're buying. So those are two examples of how we measure success in the checkoff programs that we do on behalf of the checkoff.
Yeah, and certainly in the last couple of years, we've seen incredible demand for beef, so certainly hope it continues. We've highlighted in this show also some great stories with partners like Sam's Club and state beef councils. Why are partnerships with these kinds of folks so important to your overall strategy?
Well, the state beef councils really are the essence of the checkoff. We would not have a successful checkoff if it wasn't for our state beef council partners. So we bring them in to make sure that we get their input as we plan the different programs and different promotion ideas that we come up with. But at the same time, we also work very hard to make sure they're getting what they need from us, so that way they can take those programs and extend them. And the needs of the Nebraska Beef Council may be very different from the needs of the Florida Beef Council, for example. It's our job to make sure our beef council partners are getting the support from us, so that way they can be successful too. But it's also about some of these corporate partners. You mentioned Sam's Club. It's been a great partner of ours with some of the checkoff funded promotions. And when you can have a Beef It's What's for Dinner logo on the homepage of samsclub.com, you draw that consumer's attention to not only the logo, but the pictures of our product. And we have seen that be very successful for us because at the end of the day, NCBA, nor the Cattlemen's Beef Board, actually sells beef. We're promoting beef. We need those retail partners to help us actually get those steaks into the hands of the consumer.
Really exciting, some of the work that you all are doing. You're CEO, you're tasked with the role of looking down the road, not just the next 6 months, but as you look down the road 5, 10 years, what do you see as the future of the Beef Checkoff?
Yeah, the future's pretty strong, and that's based upon the work that all the contractors are doing, but we really like to focus on the work that NCBA is doing right now. We've been able to see some great demand throughout the pandemic and been able to sustain that even on the back end of the pandemic. So we know that the consumer wants our product. And I think we can attribute that to all the great work that the Checkoff has funded throughout the years to not only provide the research and the knowledge to make sure the consumer is comfortable with our product, has faith in our product, and is excited about our product, but all of the iconic promotion that has been done with Checkoff dollars. So that way people understand that beef, it is what's for dinner, and they want to go out and grab it. And that's just going to continue. So it's up to us as producers and as contractors to make sure we continue to innovate and come up with some great ideas to promote our product, to do the research, to support that promotion, to keep this Checkoff alive and well. And all you have to do is go back and look at the Cattlemen's Beef Board website, beefboard.org. You can see all sorts of great information, not only that we're doing as contractors, but other contractors as well. And you can see just how strong the Checkoff is.
That's outstanding. Thank you so much for coming to the show. As importantly, thank you for all you do every day to drive demand for beef. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Now remember, if you want to learn about some of the ways Checkoff dollars are being used to increase beef demand, then check out the Beef It's What's for Dinner website. You'll also find great information you can use and to talk to your friends and neighbors about the sustainability of the beef industry. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.